might think jealousy is a simple, dark emotion, confined to Hollywood cliches of smashing crockery and dramatic confrontations. But trust me, as a psychologist who has sat across from countless couples wrestling with this green-eyed monster, the reality is far more complex, especially for the women on the receiving end. The paradox, why she smiles when you fume. Let me tell you a secret right off the bat, one that surprises most men. Women actually like it when a man shows a little jealousy. Source B. Now hold your horses before you start questioning her sanity or planning a grand possessive gesture. Understand the profound distinction. They like the right kind of jealousy, in the right amount. When a woman sees a hint of possessiveness, perhaps when she's laughing too heartily with a male friend, or when a coworker lingers a little too long, her immediate primal reaction is often one of joy. Source B. We hear women describe this feeling with words like sweet, cute, or it makes my heart flutter. Source B. F. Why? Because in those brief moments, your jealousy serves as a potent, undeniable form of validation. This subtle display acts as a powerful, unconscious compliment. Source G. It tells her three crucial things without you having to speak a word. First, that you love her. Second, that you truly value the relationship. And third, that you are genuinely afraid of losing her. Source GF. It confirms that she is his and that the relationship is worth fighting for, providing essential emotional validation that reinforces the bond. Source GF. Some women even intentionally orchestrate situations to make a man jealous precisely because they want to know if he cares enough to be stirred up emotionally. Source B. However, this delightful flutter is precarious. It requires extreme moderation. Source F. G. If you cross the line from caring to controlling, that pleasant validation immediately curdles into resentment and discomfort. Source G. F. That sweet gesture quickly becomes suffocating, making her feel trapped and controlled. Source F. M. Untangling true jealousy from its toxic imposter, we have a massive cultural misunderstanding that equating intense jealousy with intense love. Source M. This couldn't be further from the truth. In my practice, I have to draw a clear line for couples between what we call true jealousy and its dangerous cousin, quasi-jealousy, which is really just control wearing a mask of devotion. Source M. True jealousy, the healthy kind women find endearing, is rooted in fear of loss. Source M. It arises in response to a tangible threat, what researchers call reactive jealousy. Source K. N. For instance, if you actually see your partner flirting or kissing someone else, your emotional reaction is a rational, albeit painful, response to an existing relational threat. Source K. N. When partners exhibit this reactive jealousy, studies consistently show it relates positively to overall relationship quality. It signals emotional involvement and commitment. Source K. N. In fact, some partners may even strategically induce this type of reactive jealousy because they know it enhances the relationship quality by forcing the partner to reinvest. Source K. N. When women engage in jealousy-evoking behaviors, such as flirting, it is often a tactic to make their partner believe they are desirable and should maintain commitment. Source Y. But watch out for the imposters, the unhealthy twins, anxious jealousy and possessive jealousy. Source K. The cognitive cage. Anxious jealousy. Anxious jealousy is the internal torment of constant suspicion, worry, and rumination, often occurring in the absence of any actual threat. Source KN. It is almost purely cognitive. The person is mentally generating images of infidelity and catastrophizing the relationship's future. Source KN. Psychologists consistently find this type of jealousy is negatively associated with self-esteem, leading to depression and relationship distress. Source K. If a man is constantly suffering from anxious jealousy, the woman experiences his insecurity. He is anxiously monitoring her behavior for any sign of unavailability, perceiving ambiguous cues as threats, and generally feeling less secure. Source N. This is when the jealousy stops feeling like love and starts feeling like an attack on her character and their shared reality. Studies show that individuals who are highly anxiously attached, those who constantly worry that others cannot be relied upon and who fear rejection, experience dramatically higher levels of this painful cognitive jealousy when they perceive a lack of trust in their partner. Source N. For the woman involved, dealing with this anxiety is exhausting. It makes her feel mistrusted and controlled. Source K. The controlling grip. Possessive, quasi-jealousy. The most toxic form of all is possessive jealousy, or what we call quasi-jealousy. This has absolutely nothing to do with fear of loss. It is about control and a deep-seated sense of entitlement. Source M. This is the man who sees his partner not as an equal, but as someone who owes him loyalty, obedience, and all attention. Source M. When men engage in this behavior, they are not acting out of heartbreak. They are acting out of anger and a demand for compliance, which often stems from narcissistic traits and a need for dominance. Source M. He views her actions, such as spending time with friends or dedicating energy to a hobby, not as independent choices, but as disobedience. Source M. This mindset is rooted in deep insecurity and low self-esteem, where his sense of identity is entirely tied to his partner's unwavering attention. Source O. Any perceived shift in her focus feels like a personal insult to his worth. Source O. When women encounter this, they recognize it instantly. This isn't love, it's a cage. Source M. This controlling behavior often escalates, manifested through constant monitoring, restricting her social interactions, checking her phone, or demanding to know her whereabouts. Source M. O. The man might disguise these actions under the belief that I am doing this because I love you. But this justification is merely a shield preventing him from realizing the harmful, abusive nature of his actions. Source O. Indeed, this aggressive, controlling jealousy is horrifyingly dangerous. Tragically, male sexual jealousy is cited as the leading driver of homicide against romantic partners, particularly wives and girlfriends. Source E. This is the ugly reality behind what society sometimes mistakenly romanticizes as passionate devotion. The gendered brain. What he fears versus what she fears. To understand what makes a man jealous and how a woman interprets it, we need to look at the different evolutionary and societal pressures we face. From an evolutionary standpoint, the core function of sexual jealousy is mate retention, protecting a valued relationship from threats. Source E.L. But the threats men and women respond to most intensely differ fundamentally. The male focus, paternity and prowess. For men, the deepest, most primal fear related to jealousy is sexual infidelity. Source D.L.M. Why? Evolutionary psychologists argue that a man's primary concern is paternity certainty. If his partner is sexually unfaithful, he risks wasting his resources, time, money, care, raising a child that is not biologically his, a concept known as cuckoldry. Source D.L. This threat to his genetic legacy and resource investment triggers a powerful, often destructive reaction. Source D.L. Moreover, social cognitive theory suggests that men in Western cultures are often socialized to equate masculinity with sexual dominance and prowess. Source D.L. If his partner cheats sexually, it threatens his male ego and brings his sexual adequacy into question. Source D.L. Admitting to sexual jealousy, therefore, can feel like admitting a personal failure or inadequacy, which is why men often deny or avoid expressing it, especially when their self-esteem is threatened. Source D.N. The masculine psyche may deem it more expedient to conceal these feelings. Source D. Interestingly, research using terror management theory, TMT, found that when men were faced with reminders of their own mortality, a core psychological stressor, they actually reported lower levels of sexual jealousy. Source D. This suggests that conceding vulnerability to sexual jealousy poses a threat to masculine self-esteem, prompting denial or suppression when existential anxieties are high. Source D. The female focus. Commitment and resources. Women, on the other hand, tend to be most profoundly disturbed by emotional infidelity. Source D.L. For a woman, emotional commitment from her partner is essential because it guarantees the continued flow of resources, protection, time, and financial stability necessary for raising children. Source EL. If a man forms a deep emotional attachment with another woman, it signals that he may withdraw those resources and commitment. Source L. While both sexes are highly upset by both forms of infidelity, the emphasis differs. Source E. Research consistently shows that women report higher distress and exhibit stronger physiological responses, like changes in heart rate, when imagining their partner forming a deep emotional bond with someone else, compared to a purely sexual encounter. Source L. Socioculturally, women are also highly vested in the romantic aspects of the relationship, which are tied to their self-concept as nurturing and relationally skilled. Source D. Emotional infidelity threatens this highly valued domain of feminine self-esteem. Source D. When women face jealousy, they are more likely to focus on the affective aspects, engaging in emotional displays and rumination, or employing pro-social coping strategies like efforts to improve the relationship. Source D. Women tend to focus inward, comparing their own qualities to those of the perceived rival, and may experience symptoms of depression following infidelity. Source L. When women play the game, inducing the monster, it might sound manipulative, but some women strategically use jealousy to achieve a vital relationship goal, testing commitment. Source I. They need to know if the man is truly invested, especially because asking directly, "Do you really love me?" can signal insecurity, which men often find unattractive. Source Y. By dating others, flirting openly, or simply appearing highly desirable to rivals, a woman gains crucial information. Source Y. The logic is simple and rooted in mate retention. If a man cares for a woman and believes she has other viable active options, he must quickly ramp up his commitment to keep her from being whisked away. Source Y. And science confirms this tactic often works on men. Studies of dating and married couples worldwide show that men's most frequent response to a perceived rival is to increase their mate retention efforts. Source YL. This includes lavishing time, attention, jewelry, and dinners on the woman. Source Y. They engage in mate-guarding behaviors, ranging from enhancing their own appearance to restricting their partner's time or interactions, sometimes bordering on hostility toward competitors. Source L. The cost of competition, appearance enhancement, the pressure of mate retention, triggered by rivalry and jealousy, also manifests physically in women, often in costly or risky ways. When a woman experiences romantic jealousy, the emotional upset over a perceived threat to her valued relationship, she is powerfully motivated to engage in compensatory behaviors, particularly appearance enhancement. Source Q. L. This is a benefit provisioning tactic aimed at enticing her partner to stay. Source Q. It's not just about applying lipstick. Research indicates that romantic jealousy predicts a woman's willingness to engage in costly and potentially dangerous behaviors. Willingness to use a risky diet pill. Source Q. Increased proportional spending on appearance-enhancing products and services. Source Q. A positive attitude toward cosmetic surgery. Source Q. For women, jealousy acts as an emotional buzzer, signaling a perceived deficiency relative to rivals, prompting her to invest heavily in her attractiveness to solidify the relationship. Source E. Q. This effort is specific to retaining the mate. The studies show that jealous women are not simply prone to general risk-taking, but specifically risk-taking related to enhancing her looks. Source Q. This desperate move, rooted in the fear that she might not be attractive enough to keep him, is a profound measure of the perceived threat. The therapeutic lens. Moderation is the key to connection. As a psychologist, I emphasize that jealousy, in its purest form, is a natural human emotion and, as David Buss suggests, possibly an adaptive mechanism designed to protect reproductive fitness and interpersonal cohesion. Source D. E. It is a durable characteristic of human mating, present cross-culturally. Source L. But like most powerful emotions, moderation is absolutely key. Source F. G. When jealousy is healthy and appropriate, it reflects reactive jealousy, a measured, temporary response to a real external threat. Source KN. It should provoke honesty. When jealousy spirals out of control, reflecting internal insecurities and lack of trust, anxious jealousy, or entitlement and power, possessive quasi-jealousy, It damages the foundation of the relationship, source NM. This controlling behavior, which includes excessive questioning, forbidding contact with friends, or monitoring communications, is a massive turnoff for women who feel emotionally stifled and disrespected, source FGM. Remember, jealousy is rooted in a lack of trust, which is the fundamental source of inequality and disrespect in a relationship. Source KMH. For a relationship to thrive beyond the initial, flattering rush of reactive jealousy, communication must prioritize vulnerability over accusation. Source E. Instead of hurling accusations or issuing controlling decrees, the jealous partner must articulate the underlying emotions. I love you, and I feel vulnerable and scared of losing you, rather than, you're an inconsiderate ass, source E. This shift allows the couple to move from a defensive, adversarial posture to a collaborative one based on rebuilding trust and commitment, source E. If you are struggling with a controlling pattern, remember the signs of quasi-jealousy, a sense of entitlement, disproportionate reactions to small incidents, constant surveillance and isolation tactics, source M. This is not passion. It's an unhealthy dynamic that deserves professional intervention. Counseling can help address the root issues of insecurity and distrust, often associated with anxious attachment, and help individuals move away from destructive coping behaviors like snooping, source N. In the end, what women think about male jealousy is simple. They want the sign of love, but they reject the chains of control. The heart of the matter lies in nuance. A fleeting, mild surge of reactive jealousy reassures a woman that she is profoundly valued and worth protecting, source FG. It's a warm flash of commitment she craves. However, that appreciation instantly vanishes when jealousy becomes persistent, anxious, or possessive, revealing a partner rooted in distrust and a demand for obedience, source KMN. Women want a man who cares deeply, not a jailer who feels inadequate, source GO. The successful path forward requires men to manage their insecurity, communicate their love vulnerably, and understand that true passion never requires ownership or sacrificing a partner's freedom, source ME.